Why do some businesses effortlessly have a queue of world-class talent? In this video, I'm breaking down the three-part system behind every $100 million team. I'm going to walk you through the framework to build a brand that attracts talent on autopilot, culture that makes them stay for years, and a hiring process that makes you the only place A players want to work for. What are strategies used by Alex Hormozi, Stephen Bartlett that get A players literally lining up to work with them, while legacy brands spend millions on HR and still fail to attract top talent? That's what I'm breaking down in this video. How much do you think the average business spends on hiring every single year? Well, according to this, it's around $800,000 a year for a pretty big business and usually around $150,000. So not very cheap. Definitely not cheap when you see the cost of hiring is increasing every single year, year over year. And there's even something happening called the Great Resignation, where more and more people are willingly leaving their jobs to find better opportunities elsewhere. And every time someone leaves, you have recruitment costs. You have productivity loss, where managers spend hours interviewing new candidates. You need to onboard them, train them, add them to different softwares and tools. So the cost stacks up and stacks up. Around $20,000 to even $45,000 on the upper range, just to recruit a new qualified team member. I was talking to the head of recruitment at Dell, and she was telling me that they spend millions a year on attracting and hiring new talent, who most actually leave in under a year. As you can see, staff members are leaving a lot just because of this Great Resignation, where people are finding opportunities elsewhere, which means you have a major talent leak and you have to default to having a mid team. So how do you attract a team that aren't only good, incredibly good at what they do, but wouldn't even fathom leaving? There's one thing that people aren't really focusing on, and the ones that are completely demolishing the competition, and that's building a powerful content machine. People like Alex Hormozi, people like Stephen Bartlett have mastered this, and I'm going to break down their whole funnel and exactly what they're doing. So how they attract talent autopilot, how to build a culture that makes them stay for years, and a hiring process that makes you the only place A players want to work for. So I'm going to start by breaking down Alex Hormozi's LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, he has different style of posts. He have personal connection type of posts where he just describes and just says more personal topics about his life. Something like this post, for example, where he explains his journey and how he lost everything a few times. Then there's team principles. Lilo Hormozi posts a lot about this. That's Hormozi's co-founder wife. They talk about what a high performer looks like, what an A player looks like, and how to attract more of those. And they talk a lot about this, which is quite smart because it primes people that want to work for them to expect that the level of work is going to be tough and it's going to be quite demanding. Then they have behind the team, which is content going behind the scenes as a team, seeing kind of how they work and the team members involved and what they do on the day-to-day. And then you have call to actions. This is straight call to actions when they're looking to hire. There we go, another example of that there. Stephen Bartlett has a very similar strategy where he has personal connection, so videos and LinkedIn posts that really build that connection and get you close to him as a person. You have behind the team, so this is a gym that he's implemented in his office, so you get kind of a behind the scenes view of what it looks like to work for him. And then you get a direct call to actions of him, just straight call to action of looking to hire someone. Now, also they both do podcasts, but in quite a different way, where Hormozi goes on other people's podcasts, and obviously Stephen Bartlett has his own podcast, so he's the host. This is a great attracting team because it builds authority, it builds expertise, it builds rapport, and it gives you free value, so you feel like you really know them as a person, and you feel like you even owe them for the value that they're providing. For clients, we love to introduce the long form, so just like this video here, a long form video, or even 1 hour plus podcast, long form videos, they work really well. Next is vlogs, and let me explain why vlogs are so powerful. So this is Daniel Dallin. He does vlogs in the online business space, and he's gained major traction by going behind the scenes of what he does day to day in his businesses. We actually started working with Daniel when he only had 15,000 subscribers. You can see he's grown quite a lot since then. By the time when we were working with him, he actually attracted 100% of his team just through content. People would find his content, resonate with him, want to work for his team, and then apply to work with him. So that's a real life case study of how powerful content is. You can see in Hormozi's vlogs that he goes behind the scenes. You can kind of see what he's working on, how his day looks like, and you almost get an inside view of how it looks like to work with him on his team. It's so powerful to be able to have a behind the scenes view and almost see how it'd be to work with them. So this is really important, making your team part of your content. Among guys, he does this really well. He has his cameraman and editor in his videos. He has his personal assistant in his videos interacting with him. This makes the environment more fun, and it makes people build a real connection with the team as well. What's really important as well is having authenticity of what's actually going bad in a business as well. So not focusing just on the good, focusing on the bad. It makes you a bit more human, and it makes you connect a lot more. Now, Stephen Bartlett does this really, really well. Going behind the scenes of his business, including his team in his content, and getting an inside view of really how it looks like to work in his team.
Earlier, they were quite cool with doing this team in the UK.
So why does this work so effectively? Because employees, A players, top talent, they want to work for the content face. They want to work for who is behind the business. You don't want to work for Apple, you want to work for Steve Jobs. You want to work for Hormozi. You don't want to work for acquisition.com. You want to work for Stephen Bartlett, not Diary of a CEO. You're the personality and you're the vision behind the company. Okay, so now you can really attract top talent. You know how to build content that builds a connection with them, that sees behind the scenes of how the team works, and that gets a glimpse of how working there is going to feel like. How do you build a culture that makes them stay for years? So one thing they do really well is gamifying recruitment. It's the exact same strategy and tactics used in massive universities like Harvard, like Oxford, where they build that prestige around them, gamifies the process and makes them feel so valuable. It makes you feel that you're lucky that you're even there. Think of it, you apply to university, you spend a lot of money, and when you're ready to pay them, you feel lucky that you got accepted. You feel like you made it and you feel like it's an opportunity. That's exactly what they do. Hormozi, Steven, showing you how it looks like to be on their team, showing how many applications come through because of their content.
I have looked at 60,000 CVs. I actually have 45,000 CVs still sat in my CV inbox.
Showing you how important some of the hires are in the company. All that scarcity makes you retain just a bit more. Imagine out of hundreds and hundreds of applicants, even thousands, that you were accepted and you started working for Alex Hormozi. You were chosen out of thousands of applicants. Just like in a top prestigious university, you're not going to want to leave. This is called loss aversion, a cognitive science where losing something feels more painful than actually gaining something. The pain from loss is greater than the pleasure from gain. Just like Harvard, it feels painful to drop out of Harvard because you know how low the acceptance rate is. This is scarcity versus supply, and it makes it a lot harder for your team to leave. So this is the psychology behind making your team never want to leave. But how do you make them create their best work? Well, here's the thing. Again, this ties back to the content that they were creating. Well, Alex Hormozi has content showing him working behind the scenes of his business. So does Stephen Bartlett. So does Daniel Dallin. So does Amam Gadzi. I want to show you this.
Anytime I get antsy, I just know I need to be back at my desk working right now. And he was with Alex and they were taking shots and he was like, bro, what are you doing? Why aren't you here? Like, and I remember sending him a photo, chained to my desk at like 2, 3 in the morning. And I was like, bro, I'm working today. I don't know why in moments like that, I just like having my psychological edge of like, that you guys are having fun. Okay, now's my time to work.
This is really done well in content where the founder works hard, or even the illusion of working hard. Because who knows behind the scenes if these guys are working hard? I'm sure they are. But in content, you can build the illusion of that. So your team is going to watch your content. Even when you aren't present, you're not at the office, the team are going to watch your content and they're going to see the standard that you set. If they see your content, they see videos of you working hard at night, what are they going to do? What are they going to think? You've set that standard, you've set that bar. So the hiring process that makes you the only place they want to work for, let's go through the psychology of an A player. How does an A player think? So quick definition, what does an A player look like? They're going to provide the level of output of 5 standard team members. They're going to work longer than they need to because they love to be challenged, and they're going to generate the business 20 times or even more in revenue, in value, than they're going to get in salary. Now here's a secret, they don't care about money. They're in extreme demand. They can work anywhere they want. There's actually an example of a few days ago where someone turned down a job offer from Mark Zuckerberg of over $1 billion, one of the biggest salaries of all time. Why? Well, let's go back to a very simple diagram I'm sure you know, which is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where once you have a base pay, then the most important thing to you is going to be purpose, action, driving. This is the way A players think. The dopamine reward of solving a challenge is higher than money, and this is what most founders neglect. So first of all, they can pay a lot less for high performers because again of the scarcity and opportunity aspect, but also A players want to be pushed with difficult tasks, which means that they can be paid less and have more output. So the whole hiring system I just explained, these founders leverage their socials, gamify culture fear, get so much demand that they can reject anyone that isn't the best of the best and get a team that will bring extreme levels of revenue and value to the business compared to what they're paid. Quick call to action, if you want me to build this whole content system for you, take that time off your hands. So come up with all the ideas, scripting, editing, attribution tracking of content, make you actually build a YouTube content system, then go in the description and book a call with me.